I remember clearly that morning, way before the sun was up. We were packed into the transporting SUV and headed to the airport. We were on our way. We were headed to San Antonio, Texas. We were headed to the 2015 General Conference session of Seventh-day Adventist. And we finally arrived after much effort and found our way to the Alamo Dome, where the meetings were held. And that Wednesday, as I recall, a vote was taken establishing, clarifying a policy. At the end of that week, in our rental car, we began to leave. We had to decide, where are we going? We already knew. We were leaving San Antonio for parts east for a family wedding. But it makes me think, where are we headed? Where are we going? This earth is not our home. We are on our way to another place, far, far away. I would like to share with you some thoughts, simply entitled, A Simple Roadmap from San Antonio, and I add, to the home Jesus has prepared. These thoughts are written by Glenn Sackett, who is a chaplain at Porter Adventist Hospital in Denver. Seventh-day Adventists have hit a bump in the road, a bump so big it threatens the whole journey. This bump in the road occurred in 2015, leading up to and during the General Conference session in San Antonio. In 2015, a decades-long discussion escalated into an ugly fight that descended into name-calling and accusations of rebellion. Ugly, really ugly. The discussion is about how to recognize, validate, and credential women God has called to ministry. The shorthand version of the topic is women's ordination. Coming away from the San Antonio experience, many of us knew something awful had happened. We knew that following the course we were on would make things worse, not better. We began to search for a roadmap that could get us back on the journey to the kingdom of heaven. I realized this ugly discussion had taken on a life of its own, one that neither in content nor tone resembled the kingdom of heaven I have devoted my life to experiencing now and in eternity. 3 bits of earthly wisdom helped point me to the heavenly wisdom I now believe is essential to get us back on the right path. 1, if what you're doing isn't working, try something different. 2, the definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over while expecting different results. 3, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. That freed me from trying to think harder along the same lines of thinking we were in, which is how to solve an organizational problem. It freed me to think back to our reason for being, which is a divine purpose. Then I could remember that our divine purpose is to reveal the kingdom of God for the purpose of establishing the kingdom of God. Once I started from the right starting point, with my mental map oriented so north is north, I could see the way clearly. Actually, I was surprised at the simplicity of what I saw. We must pursue our journey with these priorities. 1, Jesus first. 2, love matters most. And 3, ministry is service, a servant mentality. Simple. And like most transformational experiences in life, simple, but not easy. Let's expand on this. Jesus first. Whatever we do and say must reveal Jesus. Whenever it does not, we're doing it wrong. We must immediately go back, rethink it, and do it over. Better yet, before speaking or acting, these questions must become second nature. What would Jesus do or say? How would Jesus say or do this? And while we are yet speaking, we must observe. Is the other person getting Jesus? Or is something like me, my cherished ideas, my judgments, getting in the way? In fact, everything we say and do does reveal our conception of Jesus and God. Our children have been telling us clearly as they have been walking out the back door for generations now. The God your words and actions represent is not the one we find worthy of our attention. We are Christians first, Adventists second. We are Christians, not Paulians. We are Christians first, people of the book second. It is Jesus first, behavior second. It's Jesus first, prophecy second. It's Jesus first, doctrine second. It's Jesus first, health second. It's Jesus first, anything else, everything else second, every single time. These are not bad things, they're good things, important things, but they matter only after we are clear in the moment about Jesus. 2, love matters most. Everything must pass this test. Jesus taught us that there are 2 important things, which in heavenly math are actually one thing: love. Love God, love people. How can this be? How can 1 + 1 equal 1? It's a matter of equivalency, where there is really only indivisible substance, which is exactly what Jesus taught about love. They will know you have been with me by the way you love each other. If you say you love me but do not love your brother, you lie. Love matters most. Let's compare that with another number, 613. That's the number of rules under the Old Covenant in the Hebrew Scriptures, the Old Testament. Are they all of equal importance? Which ones are so important that we should be willing to shout each other down, to risk destroying our faith community? None, according to Jesus. He extended the heavenly math lesson. 613 equals 2, which really equals just 1. Really? Yes. Jesus brings the new covenant, which brings new math. All the law and the prophets can be summed up in this. So, whatever we teach, whatever we enforce, if it isn't expressed and experienced as love, we're doing it wrong. Again, we must immediately go back, rethink it, and do it over. In this rethinking, the opening question is, what would love do? And when that seems too abstract, we can go back to what would Jesus do? The Apostle Paul got it too. Right in the middle of applying the teachings of Jesus to the nitty-gritty details of church life in Corinth, which needed a lot of spiritual direction, he brought it down to this priority list. It's Paul's big 3. Faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And just to be sure we understand that there is a hierarchy here, a priority list to observe, absolutely consistent with Jesus' teaching, he gave us a list of good things, prophecy, etc. And then said, If we have all of these, but do not have love, we are like a noisy gong, a clanging cymbal. This is why we can't argue our way out of the mess we have created. One side sounds like a noisy gong, the other like a clanging cymbal. That is not why we are here, to see who can make the most noise. We argued our way into this. We will not argue our way out. Complex problems cannot be solved at the same level they were created. We must seek a higher level of thinking and acting. Bottom line here, it's simple. Love matters most. The third, ministry is service. Our governance, our rules of engagement, our understanding of ministry, our expression of leadership, everything must be in service to the first two principles. Everything. Jesus, first shall be last. This is our model of leadership. Servant leadership. Not humanly constructed hierarchical structures copied from the worlds of politics or business or other religions. Can there be a Christian organization? No and yes. The organization cannot have a saving relationship with Christ, so it cannot be a Christian. But an organization can stand for something, and an organization can act. In this, it can reveal Christ or not, seeking the good of the other, not our own. Even Paul, in his better moments, got this. One of my bosses who understood better than most how to express Christian mission in the culture of the organization constantly talked about service over self-interest. Heavenly organizational charts and worldly organizational charts are upside down to each other. Part of the thinking that has gotten us all tangled up here is that we have put the role of the minister into a worldly organizational chart, one that has the minister over others. Jesus, on the other hand, taught ministry as service and demonstrated this on his knees, washing the feet of those to whom he ministered. We must right side up our organizational chart at all levels and in all instances of ministry if we hope to find our way out of this darkness. Simple, right? Just three things. One, Jesus is who we are here to show to the world in everything we say and do. Let me read it again. Jesus is who we are here to show to the world in everything we say and do. Two, love is the method of interaction we are to use in everything we say and do. Let me read it again. Love is the method of interaction we are to use in everything we say and do. And three, ministry is service, the way we are to relate to each other in everything we say and do. I'll read it again. Ministry is service, the way we are to relate to each other in everything we say and do. That's all. Three things. Just three things. Are they easy? No. Each one calls us to abandon our conformity to the ways of the world. Each one calls us to be transformed into the ways of the kingdom, ways that are not our ways. And perhaps most difficult, we have to stop our self-dependent attitude of, I'm right, so you must be wrong. We must adopt the attitude demonstrated clearly by John the Baptist. I must decrease so he may increase. How will we get back to the women's ordination question? I don't know. I actually don't think it matters. That may sound heretical, it may sound cynical, but I think it's the simple truth. If we continue with the path we are on, we will simply be arguing about boxes on an upside-down, humanly devised organizational chart. On the other hand, and that's a big if we are transformed, if we get back to living in a right-side-up, kingdom-based, service-based operation, then we will see new ways to resolve our questions, because we will all be learners in the school of heaven, seeing new possibilities we couldn't imagine before. We will see new hope. New hope. The kingdom of God. It's really what it's all about. Faith, hope, love. The greatest of these is love. Let's lay down our weapons. Let's stop talking. Stop arguing. Stop taking motions. Stop voting on policy. And start loving one another as Jesus has loved us. Let us love, inasmuch as we have done it unto one of the least of these, my brethren. We've done it unto him.